What's up? Today we are doing a reading wrap up for the month of April and May, simply because I didn't read that much these past 2 months, and simply because I've been in the garden a lot, and so it's a hassle to be and really a pain to be using headphones in the garden. So that is why we're combining them. So the month of April and May, I almost made the deadline for last night for a book that I was in the middle of, but there was like an hour left, and technically speaking, I did not finish it in the month of May. I will talk about it a little bit, but I want to save it for the June wrap up, because it's not technically a book that I read in May. So we're going to go through these really quickly. I dealt with a little mishap that I just had with my Goodreads. I realized, you know what, here's the thing, okay? I hate the app. Really, I don't put in my books on the app. I do it on my desktop version of Goodreads, but I absolutely hate the update for how you rate and log the books in on the website as well. Is coming to the point now where I just can't stand the format of Goodreads, but I have to use it because it's the only thing that records my history and the challenge and everything like that. But it's really getting to the point now where I'm starting to really despise the format, because if you didn't notice, Goodreads has changed their website and it looks so ugly. I mean, it looked ugly before, but it looks even more ugly now, and so that's a little pet peeve of mine at the moment. So let's start off with the first book that I read in the month of April. Illicit by Moises Naim, whatever. I gave this book a 4 stars. Now, this book was amazing. Nonfiction, all of these are nonfiction, by the way, except for the one that I'm going to mention at the very end, which I technically did not read in the month of May. But this book, Illicit, talks about the smuggling and trafficking trades, and it basically it's very detailed, guys. This is something that I would recommend for anybody that's trying to understand how that world of crime works. But it talked about it said a very good it had a very good format to this book, and I really enjoyed it. It goes through basically each way of smuggling and trafficking, like each genre, I guess you would say, of smuggling and trafficking. You know, everything from fake handbags to fake, pharmaceuticals to drugs to human trafficking, to all of it. It was an absolutely amazing book. It was basically about the black market, guys, and how it operates, and the inside scoop and information on that sort of thing. It gave different stories. I mean, this guy really was thorough. It's extremely relevant because it mentions many of the countries that are in conflict right now. And if you don't already know, Ukraine, Moldova are hotbeds for extreme criminal activity. And, a lot of people Well, that's a story for my podcast. But my point is, it's not what everybody chalks it up to be, and basically this book is extremely relevant. It talks about the global scene and how globalism has actually increased by globalization, and the increase of these interlocking economies, how it's left a big room. It's given criminals more opportunity to not only sell their product, but to expand their customer base, and to basically sorry guys, my throat has been acting weird this past week. It feels like there's something lodged in there, but it's like very uncomfortable. Wow. So anyway, excuse me. So basically, it talks about how it's left room for criminals to thrive. The shipment and everything has businesses doubled for them, tripled for them, and the way that the ports work and everything is to their advantage. Basically, they're exploiting the system that we have right now, which is one that is basically worldwide. And I found it to be very enlightening. It touches on basically everything, and this is a really, really good book for anybody that wants to understand it. The only reason why I gave this a 4 stars and not 5 stars, you hear me raving about how great this book was. The only problem I had was they're singing the UN's praises, which to me was kind of ironic because they're part of the issue. So that was my only issue with this book, and that's why I gave it a 4 stars. But I would totally recommend this to everybody. The other book that I read, the second book that I had read in the month of April, was Clinton Cash by Peter Schweizer. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm not gonna get too in the weeds politically on this book. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it, what did I give it? I gave it a 5 stars. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this book. There's actually a lot of stuff that I had no idea about, in this book. For anybody that follows me on my podcast, you know what my thoughts are on the Clintons. Okay. Can't be any more clear. But for somebody that has done their research on her, there was a lot of, tidbits of information in this book that I just had no clue about, and very enlightening and very eye-opening, and I would totally recommend this to anybody interested in their dark history, or anybody that wants to learn about their dark history and is not aware of the dealings, the very I want to say bordering on treason dealings. This book was phenomenal, and it was just it was so well written, guys. I had so much fun listening to that, it was just extremely well written, extremely well researched, and well put together. And what's interesting about it, and this is what he brings up, and this is one of the things that I didn't know, and it honestly is shocking. But then you look at someone like Hunter Biden. I said I wasn't going to get into the weeds politically, but I just want to make this statement. What's interesting about people like the Clintons and people like Hunter Biden is that they're actual lawyers. They went to law school. Not a lot of people know this, guys. She went to law school. So did Bill. They were both lawyers at one point. Like a lot of politicians are, actually. But what's so intriguing about it is they know the law. Okay? They know the law better than any quote-unquote civilian. And the fact that they're doing things that are bordering, and in Hunter's case, definitely illegal. But in the Clintons' case, possibly bordering on possibly very illegal stuff. It's just interesting. And by the way, they had gotten disbarred. Another thing that I did not know about. A lot of people would probably be shocked at that and probably look at her a lot differently. See, this is why the public really ought to educate themselves, and really ought to start reading, and really ought to start getting their noses into any book, quite frankly, because the level of ignorance or not knowing, or just being in the dark on a lot of issues, it's crazy to me. Because in just reading this book, like I said, I educated myself on a lot of stuff that I was not aware of. Like Hillary getting disbarred and Bill getting disbarred. That would totally change. And for anybody that does not understand, being disbarred is literally the worst thing you could have done to you as a lawyer. And it's not something that happens easily. Okay, guys? You have to make some serious mistakes to be getting disbarred from anywhere. So if you told the average person that, they would look at you and be like, they would think differently of them. They seriously would. Because obviously they're slimy in whatever way. I don't know what exactly got them disbarred. That might have been mentioned in this book, but I don't remember well enough. But the fact that that had taken place should show you that they're definitely doing some shady shit. Okay? So we're going to leave it at that. The third book I read, and the last book I read in the month of April, was called The Monsanto Papers by Carrie Gilliam. Now, this book would be right up anybody's alley that watched Dark Waters by Mark Ruffalo, or read The Radium Girls, because that's what this book reminded me of. Now, I gave this book 5 stars. This was such a heart-wrenching story, and I'll explain it further, but I do want to say this author, I think, is going to become a favorite of mine, because she has a few other books on the platform I use for audiobooks, which is Hoopla. She's got a few others, and I have a feeling she's going to be, like, probably one of my new favorite authors. Her writing, it's stunning, how great her writing is. This book is another true story. This is about the Monsanto case, and how they were proven in a court of law to be guilty of basically misleading the public on their very popular pesticide Roundup. and how it was cancer causing. They knew very well it was cancer causing. They had all the evidence, very much like DuPont, and their chemical dumping and all the crap. They knew very well that it was dangerous. They ghostwrited. See, I knew about this case. Many truthers knew about this case because it was a landmark historical case. This is probably one of the most, I would argue, seriously, guys, the most important case in the 21st century, in my personal opinion. It set a major precedent. Monsanto was hurt so bad by this that they had to merge companies with Bayer, which, if you know anything about Bayer, they're not exactly, the best of folk either. And this is what corrupt corporate companies do, is they like to merge after they get sued out the ass, or they break the companies apart. For instance, J&J and their talcum powder lawsuit was so bad, they're now having to split up the company. It's not going to be J and J anymore. It's going to be J and the other J's over there. Okay. But this book was about the Monsanto case, and I remember when this was taking place, this was huge for people that were paying attention, and for the normies that were not paying attention. You know, many people still think that Roundup is a safe product to use. Now, I do believe they had changed their formula, but guys, these are the same people that created Agent Orange. These are the same people that created this cancer-causing product, Roundup. And in this book, it describes this book was so amazing. It reminded me a lot of the Radium Girls and the structure of it, and running through the court case and the process and what took place, basically what took place before, what took place afterwards, the event, and then the leading up to the court case, and the court case itself, and then the life afterwards. And it was very much like the Radium Girls in the structure of the story, and it was a absolutely heart-wrenching story. And it's not just about this guy, it's about the whole covering up of the crime, and it's about the victims of this evil, wicked company. And it goes through and it talks about, I think his name was Lee Johnson. Give me 1 minute. Yes, Lee Johnson. Black man. Okay. Lee Johnson was a working class, blue-collared black man. And he was working as a landscaper. He did a lot of odds and ends jobs so he could make ends meet and give his family the life that he did not have. As a kid, his father was absent. He grew up poor, and so he had a goal and a mission to give his kids the life that he wanted and that he felt like he deserved. And he felt like he wanted to give his kids the world and his wife the world. And he did this by making money and this is what's so sad about it, guys, is, you know, blue-collared workers, they go and they make the money the correct way, and then shit like this happens and they get absolutely screwed over, okay? He was working all these different jobs, and he was able to give his kids the life that he wanted. He was able to put them in a good school, in a good neighborhood, in a nice household. and he was able to give his wife, the attention and the money and the funds that she deserved. And he was a very involved father, and he was basically what you would want to see. A he was basically like the perfect father and husband, and he was trying to make a good life for his family. Well, one day when he was working on the fields in his school district, the landscaping, and he was working on getting the weed killer down, Roundup. Every time that he was out there, him and his coworkers would suit up, because regardless of what Monsanto said about it being the safest thing in the world, it was full of chemicals, and they knew that, and they knew it was necessary to protect themselves. Okay, now, first of all, I'm of the belief that anything that basically you wouldn't want to put on your skin, and anything, it should not be put into the atmosphere. It should not be put into the earth, the ground. It's toxic. If it's toxic to you, it's toxic to the earth, and it's killing things, and it just should not be used. Period. End of story. And what's interesting about this, and I know I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent here. What's interesting about this is I was reading this audiobook while I was finishing a mural in a local school of mine's, and I did notice the day I finished this book, I was happy to see that the landscapers were using organic products, and it was odd to me that, it was obviously a sign showing me that things like this will not happen hopefully ever again, because it seems like there's a move towards organically gardening, organically getting rid of weeds and all this type of stuff. But anyway, he was working one day, and he had a huge drum in the back full of this stuff. The picture that Carrie painted was just, like I said, it was stunning. And imagine this huge drum of toxic pesticide in the back, and he's all suited up and ready to go. Okay? And he starts spraying, and it malfunctions. And he gets all of the toxic material onto his suit, and it's so thick, it's literally splashing everywhere, spurting everywhere from the drum. And it's so thick, the amount of pesticide that is coming through the suit. And immediately, in the back of his mind, he's panicking. But he knows he has to turn the hose off. He knows he has to fix this immediately. Otherwise, he will be drenched in the whole drum. And he manages to turn it off, but the damage was already done, guys. And guys, it made me literally tear up reading this book. I'm not even joking. This is very an emotional story. Very heart-wrenching story, and I honestly had a hard time getting through it, because it was just it's so criminal what they were able to get away with. And immediately he goes in to try and wash himself off. There was no showers. He had to try and wash himself, attempt to wash himself in the sink, because they didn't have any showers there. Packs up, goes home, takes a shower. But the damage has already been done. the lesions start forming. And he's terrified because he knows exactly what it was. He'd never had any medical issues prior. He was a healthy, relatively young black man. And he didn't have any issues beforehand. So he knew what caused it. And eventually, he goes to the doctor. It's so bad. He can barely even move, barely even walk, barely even function. He can barely even work, quite frankly. He goes to the doctor to figure out what it is. They're stunned. They have really no clue. And it starts to kind of heal up once they put him on certain type of medications. He's able to go back to work again. And this time he's got a backpack sprayer on. And yet again, it malfunctions. And he's panicking at this point because he knows that that's what's caused it. And the fact that the backpack sprayer just malfunctioned on him, he knows whatever's coming next is going to be bad. The lesions flare up like they never have before. And it was just unbearable, the pain. And he knew he had to do something. He couldn't work anymore. Eventually he lost that job because he didn't want to be anywhere near that thing, and quite frankly he could not function at the job. He could not carry out the task. And he knows he has to do something. He's going to all these doctors. They keep prescribing him stuff. They're confused. They don't know what's going on. They poo-poo his whole Roundup story because according to Monsanto and according to what everyone thought, and the public thought at those times, and I was around when this thing was going on, and it's funny me to say that, but I remember when this story came out, and I cannot tell you how many people defended Monsanto. You would think after them creating Agent Orange that they would be looked down upon, and they're not that way. Many people still defend this company to this day, which is beyond me. This company is an evil, wicked company, and they got their asses handed to them in this lawsuit. Okay, so he's looking for solutions. He's looking for ways to make money. Eventually, they have to downsize into an apartment. They can no longer pay for the kids' private schooling. And basically, their life is flipped upside down over just a few months. And he goes searching one day, looking for other stories similar to his, because he's really trying to get to the bottom of this. He wants to find out what's wrong so he can get back to living his life. And in the midst of his searching, he finds that there is a class action lawsuit going on, specifically about Monsanto and about Roundup. And he sees that, and immediately he wants in on it. His life is ruined. His children's lives are ruined. His wife's life is severely impacted by seeing her husband going through this immense pain every day. She can't even touch him because he's just got lesions all over his body. She's working, overtime, double overtime, trying to find work to pay for their expenses because he cannot. So he joins the class action suit. And long story short, Monsanto totally, all the evidence pointed to their guiltiness, and everything pointed to the fact that they were guilty. Their communications were so blatantly obvious that they conspired to lie to the public about this and do everything they could do to cover up the truth. And so it was a slam dunk case, guys, and he won an extreme amount of money, rightfully so, because he's going to be needing that for treatment for forever. He outlived, I believe he's still alive today, because if he wasn't, we would have heard about it, and I would have seen that while looking this case up. But he outlived a lot of the doctor's expectations. In my belief, it's because he feels like he has something to live for now. He's got a nice house, he's got his house back, he's got his kids back, he's got his life back, and now he has something to live for, and I think he's gonna live a while. Hopefully he gets to see his kids graduate from high school and possibly even college. But it's such a tragic story, and if you're wondering what happened to all the other people on the class action, they didn't need to go to court. Many of them settled out of court. But quite frankly, none of them got the money that he did, which, again, you can argue rightfully so, because his condition was extremely bad, his skin condition was extremely bad, but there's a lot of other people that had gotten cancer. For everyone from farmers to landscapers to actually at-home gardeners use this stuff and continue to use this product to this very day. I don't understand it for the life of me. It's not like this case was buried. This case was very much publicized, and I can't understand for the life of me why anybody still continues to use the product, whether or not that ingredient's still in there. There's a whole bunch of other crazy shit in there, and it's harmful to the environment, and why would you ever support that company after what they did? It's just slimy as hell. Slimy doesn't even cover it, guys. But seriously, they don't deserve your money. Don't deserve my money. Don't deserve anybody's money after what they put all these poor people through. So yes, a lot of them settled out of court. Many of them got, a decent amount of money to pay for medical expenses, but they will never truly, that's the one thing about compensation, is they will never truly be compensated, because they will never truly be compensated for all the years they lost of normalcy. They will never compensate, they will never get back the time that they lost. It's just, they'll never get it back. There's no amount of money. You can't put a price tag on time missed out on. You can try, but there's just no way to fully calculate that in numbers. You know what I mean? And so, just thankfully, they have enough to pay for the medical bills and live comfortably and live the way that he should have lived. And those lawyers are heroes. His lawyers are absolute heroes. And people can say what they want about compensation lawyers and everything like that, but these ones are seriously, they're not just trying to make a buck, yes, they took a percentage of his earnings, but that's only because it took so much time, money, effort, and research to put into this case and prove Monsanto's criminality. So in hiding the information from the public. So it took them a long time, and to be honest with you, they deserve the money. In my opinion, those lawyers are heroes, And as much as the system itself is falling to pieces every day, there are still some really amazing lawyers out there. So that story, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you read that. Many people know about the case, but they don't know the exacts of it, and so it was just, it was fantastic. And I cannot wait to read more from Carrie Gillam soon. So yeah, rated at 5 stars. It was amazing. So in the month of May, my first book that I read was called Dirty Daddy by Bob Saget. Now, for those of you that do not listen to my podcast, you probably should. For more context on why I read this, I didn't read it just because he died, although that was part of it. I mainly read it because this is the book in which he describes certain very unsettling incidents that took place on the on the set of Full House. This book also explains a lot more that I had no clue about. He really, and this is one thing that I tell people all the time, you would be surprised at the amount of dirt that is found in celebrities' memoirs. They will literally admit to all of these different happenings willingly. Like, they do this willingly. And it's almost as if they brag about what they've done. This book was... It gave insight into his twisted mindset. Seriously, guys, there were stories in here that were worse than what I already know about. There was a really twisted joke about his daughter in here that really... I listened to all of this book, guys, and there is some really nasty, nasty shit in here. One thing that I will make a comment on, and I gave it a 1 star because it was just absolutely filthy, disgusting, gross. But there was one part that gave context to his death. Not a lot of people were talking about this, and I'm not sure why. From the autopsy report, okay, 95% of half of his heart was not functioning properly. He was on a cocktail of different pharmaceuticals, which he actually explains in this book. He actually explains why and the reasoning for that in his book, and kind of brags about it. But one of the things that really stood out to me was when he was talking about the death of his uncles. They had also had heart problems. Many of them died before they even hit 50. So, for those of you wondering, still wondering about his death, well, there's certain things I just can't say on YouTube, and so you're just going to have to listen to my Instagram for the reasons why he died and his autopsy report. But the whole heart thing was a definitely ran in the family. That was definitely a genetic issue that ran in the family, because they had all had heart attacks. And he went through each one and explained, and all of his uncles died from heart attacks. And I believe, I'll correct myself if I'm wrong, I do believe that his dad had died from a heart attack as well. I believe so. There was also a really creepy part about his dad, and it again gives insight into Bob Saget's twisted humor and behaviors on the set of Full House, and on the roasting and in his comedic, quote unquote comedic skits and everything like that. he was pretty much best friends with his father, and his father would joke with Bob Saget a lot about a lot of things that probably should not be joked about between a father and a son, to be very real with you. One of the things, though, that stood out to me in this book that I had, again, no idea about, and Bob Saget admits to this, and this is what I'm saying. These people in Helly Weird do not have any self-awareness when it comes to stuff like this, and how it's not normal. But now I understand where he got all of it from. In the book, he says that his father had actually started dating his mother when she was 16, and he was 7 years older than her, meaning that when he basically started dating his mother when she was 16 and he was 23. Case closed, guys. There's a whole lot more in this book that I could go on and on about. And I probably will do a whole episode or part of an episode on Bob Saget, because it really needs to be said. And he's no one to cry over, is my point. So, extremely eye-opening to how this man's brain functioned. He was definitely sick in the head, guys. The second book I read in the month of May, and the last book I read in the month of May, was called Broad Strokes by Bitchute Quinn. It was about female artists. I didn't particularly enjoy this one. I gave it a 2 stars because it was really mediocre, and I just didn't enjoy it, guys. I'm just gonna be real. There was nothing special about this book, and I did learn some things about different female artists, but you know, for somebody that wants to bring attention to female artists who were you know, in her eyes, really successful, she really did not do a great job framing this. And to be honest, it could just be because I'm reading the audiobook and I'm not reading it physically with the pictures, with the but I don't think that's it. I genuinely just think that this was a very mediocre book, and I just didn't enjoy it all that much. So that concludes for the wrap up, basically. But I did want to let you guys know the book that I almost finished yesterday and finished today. The book is called Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. If you remember, I had read one by her earlier this year, which is called Appetite for Innocence, and that one was so suspenseful and creepy, dark, twisted, that I just had to read more of hers. And let me just say, this one did not disappoint. I'm telling you, she's gonna be another one of my favorite authors real soon. She is this book really pushed the limit on addressed a lot of extremely taboo subjects, and we'll be talking about that next month in my wrap up for June. But it was extremely, I mean, this book is kind of like, I'll explain it next month, but it's this book is definitely it could be very seen as very controversial. Let's just say that this is definitely not for the faint of heart. This book is literally you know, I do like the perspective of a mother in this situation, but like I said, we're gonna talk about this book next month. Currently, I am reading. Let's see if we can pull this up really quickly. I'm telling you, Lucinda Berry is an amazing author. As far as I'm concerned, she's extremely underrated right now. She deserves way more sales. She deserves way more praise for her writing. She's just, guys, she is a really amazing author. A really amazing author, and I'm actually going to read another one of hers this month because I'm just hooked on her writing. Hooked on it. So, the book that I'm currently reading is Art Inc. by Lisa Congdon. This is more of a self-improvement book for myself. It was short and I had borrows left, so that's what I chose to take out. And it's short, so I'll probably finish it in a few days. But anyway, stay tuned to this channel. There's going to be a lot of new content coming out, and yeah, there's a lot of new content that's going to be coming out on this channel, and so just stay tuned. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys got some possible future books to read off of this. All of these books were extremely I'm not going to say all of them I enjoyed, but a lot of them I enjoyed, and April and May were good reading months in terms of what I liked. There were a lot of books that I liked these months. So till next time, bye guys.